Hello ladies and gentlemen, as always I'm your host Airsoft Al, and welcome of course to another Media Reviews. Once again we are continuing the Author Spotlight month on Johnnyboy11. Today's fanfiction that we are looking at of his work is another Warhammer fanfiction, much like of course Cadian Blood. The fact that this does follow Cadians, as well of course Sisters of Battle and some Krieg. Today's fanfiction, of course, that we're following is They Hold the Line! And I don't mean fucking Verdun of They Shall Not Pass, Hold the Line. Today is a 3-chapter fanfiction, which kinda is interesting, to say the least, because apparently the story revolves around a ship that has not only, of course, Cadians, but also Krieg. And of course, the ever-illustrious Sisters of Battle. I know everyone is probably going to sound off in the comments section about the images I've flashed on screen, but do not worry, I'm not going to do that all the time, because if I do, you're going to be pausing the video every so goddamn often to admire the photos and leave a comment in the comments section about said photos. This is your only warning to pause the video and go get your jollies off to some Warhammer art that cannot be viewed in public. You good? Okay, let's get back to the review then. Now, the story itself is actually rather interesting and rather nice. We follow the Cadian colonel, who is a woman, with, of course, her sister of battle companion, as they are down on Remnant, because apparently their ship has arrived over the open Remnant, and during the story they find out, or at least they assume and interpret the Emperor's will, that they are to bring the faith to these godless heathens. Well, not really heathens aplenty, but I can assure you there is a lot of troubles on this planet, which I'm going to go ahead and say that by chapter 3 I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on that. But overall, this actually is a really cool story. And not only that, but we get an adorable moment that I swear to God Emperor himself, if Johnny has set this up to where I think the sisters are going to have a certain path in the future, I'm going to be very happy for, because it's going to be so fucking adorable. But what I will say is this, is that RWBY, at an adorable age, sees not only, of course, the Colonel and the Sister of Battle, who was invited into Tai Shalong's home for dinner. And, of course, they meet Summer. And yes, I know everyone's going to bring up about Raven. Yes, Raven, of course, has a very much so interesting introduction after her and her bandits are raiding a town, which, of course, get their fucking asses kicked by, of course, the guardsmen of Cadia, because as stated before in the last review about the Cadians, the planet fell before the god, and the guardsman spreads and does thy emperor's will with affixed bayonets. What I will say is this. The guardsman is effectively what it is, and does show a nice dichotomy, again, which is wholly opposite of what other fanfictions try to do. Other Warhammer fanfictions paint the Imperium of Man as xenophobic, racist, well, what am I saying racist now? Just straight up xenophobic, murderous bastards. Johnnyboy11's depiction of the guardsmen and even the Imperium of Man is actually really good, and I like this breath of fresh air, that these guardsmen are not just automatically gonna kill fucking everyone because they associate with filthy xenos. Or in some cases, abhumans, as the Faunus are seen as, but they are treated as equal because they resemble humanity, and I do like that. And in these 3 chapters, we do see a lot of dichotomy, or at least a lot of better improvements of the Guard that I do actually like. Because unlike, of course, these zealot depictions of in the Imperium of Man, of their xenophobia and just shoot first, ask questions second, the Guard here are not that. And I love it. I really, really do. Now the big thing about this is that when RWBY is introduced, when the children are introduced, and I'm going to get, finally getting around back to that, is that RWBY sees the 2 women and asks them if they're angels. And it is an adorable fucking scene, and I want you to go read this for yourself, and you'll understand why it's just so fucking heartwarmingly adorable. God damn it! What I will say is that I swear it's a hint at what Ruby's future is going to be, because I can see her being an adorable sister of battle with her weapon-obsessed self, or even, of course, Summer kind of taking a liking to the Sisters of Battle because of the cool armor, the bolters, and of course the faith, which, yes, they are going, which Tai Xiaolong himself actually does say that, you know what, that might be as a good thing. It has his own little comment on, of course, the Imperial cult. Which I will say that the outer towns themselves will probably flock to the Imperial faith, or at least those who need some religion in their lives will probably flock to it, including the Faunus. Because the Faunus, dear God, for those of you who have not ever seen the Faunus, you'll understand, or at least dig a little deeper into the Faunus themselves, you can definitely see a lot of why the Faunus are going to need some fucking religion, or lean to religion to unify behind. Because when the White Fangs show up in this story, and I know what's going to happen when the White Fangs show up, they're going to be seen as terrorists. But the Faunus as a whole, they're probably going to flock to the Imperial Guardsmen, or even the Sisters of Battle, or just the Imperial cult as a whole, and learn that the God Emperor of mankind does not discriminate against his children. He loves us all equally, for it is our job to unify humanity and cast out the heretics who dare destroy his dream of a unified humanity, be they abhuman or human. So saith the God Emperor of mankind. Amen. But the big thing I'm definitely looking forward to in the story is what happens in the 2 chapters after Chapter 1. After Chapter 1, the Imperial Guardsmen are introduced to, of course, the Vale Council. And once the talks are over, Vale now has an army, the Valian Guard, which was done behind closed doors. Ozpin, of course, is there, that manipulative son of a bitch. Oh, no, wait, that's Dumbledore I'm thinking of, not Ozpin. Ozpin actually is a decent guy. Moving on. Of course, the big thing about it is that when the Valian Guard are introduced, there is people who enjoy this. They're happy. Vale no longer is defenseless. They now have their own standing army. And I'm not gonna lie, it is actually a pretty cool idea and a pretty cool concept. But the big thing about this is that there are, of course, some issues. And by Chapter 3, it's open conflict. Or at least in this case, it's a combination of what I believe to be, of course, the IRA. Or at least those of the frontier towns who don't like the Guard, who don't want them. There were protests, there were riots, and then open conflict. And the way this sort of escalated mirrored Ireland. And the whole idea that, you know, they shouldn't be governed by, or at least, you know, Christians shouldn't be, well, my bad, not Christians, Catholics shouldn't be more or less that whole thing with Ireland and the religious civil war that they're still in, by the way. Basically, kind of a whole looking at it of the Catholics versus the Protestants in a weird way. Or at least that's how I'm interpreting it, because the frontier towns, which they call themselves the Frontier, immediately declare independence from Vale, and then begin their own campaign, or at least their own bombings and shootings. Again, kind of similar to the IRA. Or at least some form of independent group. But the big thing that really stinks about it, though, is that no one knows why they did it. And that's when a few red flags started showing up in my head, because it's like, well, wait a minute. Am I missing something here? And then it hit me. Atlas. But we'll get to that once we reach the end of Chapter 3, because by the end of Chapter 3, the guard post on Hill 3234 is immediately under attack by not just Frontier forces, but also Atlas mechs. Oh yeah, time to get our conspiracy theorist hat on, ladies and gentlemen, because by the end of it, the commissar in charge of that outpost not only is an attack on all fronts, mind you, but literally orders to affix bayonets and prepare for war. The traitor's dogs have finally come. And that's where it ends on Chapter 3. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where I'm going to start throwing in my thoughts on this. This is a false flag operation. Let me explain. This isn't a Gulf of Tonkin false flag operation. This is more along the lines of they have weapons of mass destruction false flag operation. From the way I see it, I see the Valiant Frontier being supplied by Atlas, or at least by Arthur Watts. Yes, Arthur Watts, the big mustached son of a bitch in Salem's inner circle. I can see what's going on here. Salem is trying to start up trouble between Vale, or at least between the Valiant military, and Atlas. Now, why do that? Well, number one, that not only destabilizes any sort of power base that's there, but also drives a wedge between Vale and Atlas. Atlas is the only standing military on Remnant, so it makes sense that if another military starts up, then Atlas would be seen as jealous, because, of course, the corrupt council and Jacques Schnee, this son of a bitch who basically has been known to be jealous and is known to do illegal things. And once the Faunus are thrown into the equation, and they start liking the Imperial Guard, that's where things start really getting heated up, because Jacques can basically start doing his own political thing of claiming that Vale is supplying the White Fang, or at least supplying Faunus terrorists who are attacking his mines, while the Atlas military comes under fire for supposedly supplying the terrorist in Vale with Atlas mechs. You see where I'm saying this is a false flag operation, or at least some form of operation to basically create tensions between Atlas and Vale. And let me tell you now, once that happens, all bets are off, because unlike Atlas, with its less organic forces and military forces, the Imperial Guard and one of their ships has more than enough forces to basically decimate Atlas and occupy it. As much as I want to say, oh, that's not going to happen, or at least many of you are going to say, oh, that's not going to happen, do you not understand Warhammer 40K? Not like that, but do you not understand the psychology, the psychosis of Ironwood, or Jacques Schnee, or the corrupt fucking Atlas Council? Or even Salem herself. Because unlike Vale, unlike everyone else in the RWBY universe, Warhammer 40K, the Cadian Guardsmen do not take shit. And let me tell you now, this is where things are going to end up big time. Because here's how I think it's going to play out. Once the Frontier is put down for good, and an investigation is launched, once word about them having Atlas mechs gets out, tensions are going to fucking rise. Ozpin, of course, being Ozpin, is going to try and play peacekeeper, much like not Nikita Khrushchev. Fuck, I can't remember his name. I can't remember the negotiator between the U.S. and USSR back in the 80s when Reagan was in office. I can't remember his name. But you know what I'm trying to say. This guy, I'll probably put an image up, but anyway, though. More or less, Ozpin's going to try and play, of course, the peace negotiator. Try and make sure things don't escalate pretty damn quickly. But what's going to happen is that a Cold War is going to initiate. Not only will Atlas close its borders, but the Imperial Guard, this is just battle primarily, or any of the Inquisition even, or any spy organizations within the Guard, are immediately going to infiltrate Atlas and begin their own operations. Not only, of course, inserting double agents, or at least agents within the Atlas borders, but also begin possible sabotage operations. Operations to weaken the Atlas military, so that way, if war is to happen, the Atlas military cannot put up an effective fight. And with the Imperial Guard, especially the Krieg, you don't have to send in the Cadians. Just send in the Krieg and let them bomb the hell out of Atlas. Because as soon as they are entrenched, they are like ticks. You cannot remove the Kriegsmen. They are entrenched, they are going to fight bloody and hard, and they are going to shell the hell out of you and hit you with their shovels until you can no longer fight anymore. They are going to break the spirit of Atlas well before the Cadians ever charge. This is why I love Warhammer 40K. The Kriegsmen are there. All you have to do is let the Krieg handle Atlas for as long as they need to, while building up the Guard forces. Which, speaking of the Guardsmen forces, Once the Guard do defeat the Frontier, and this actually does happen, the Faunus homeland I can see accepting some missionaries from the Imperial Faith, especially from the Sisters of Battle. And once the Sisters of Battle start explaining the Imperial Faith to the Faunus, and start telling them that all are made equal and loved with by the God Emperor of mankind, I can see the Faunus, especially the Chieftain Gaia, or Gaia, but whatever, I have a hard name, I'm just going to call him Gaia, and of course his wife Callie, start realizing the Imperial Faith is actually starting to get pretty good. I could see them actually kind of leaning towards it, and even maybe become converts, and actually welcoming it into their home. Even conducting prayers during dinner, both of them becoming religious, and at which point the Imperial Guard could have a foothold within the Faunus homeland, and literally convert it into their territory, or even into their own world, which, much like, any sort of Krieg world, or, more or less recruitment worlds, or war worlds, more or less, where the Faunus could be seen as good soldiers. Because here's the thing about the Faunus. The Faunus have their own traits that could definitely be used by not only the Imperial Guard, but also by the Space Marines and the Sisters of Battle, as well as the Inquisition. I mean, a good example of how I see people coming about. I could see Blake being a Sisters of Battle, or at least being a part of the Inquisition because of her sneaky skills. I could see her definitely being one of the assassins of the Inquisition. Or even just a Sister of Battle because... and Ilya, obviously, for... I don't know what you guys argue about that in the comments section. Miss Khan, of course, Sierra Khan, that's definitely going to be an interesting one, as well as the White Fang, because if the White Fang does come up in this story, because the way it's set, I think, pre-White Fang, before they become militant, before they become violent. I could see them being not a terrorist organization, but as a member of the Guard, a regiment, where the White Fang are not the terrorist organization, but a Guard regiment of the Faunus homeland, of the Faunus Guard, or the Imperial Guard of the White Fang regiment. You get what I'm trying to say, more or less. There are many ways you can interpret the White Fang in this story. The big one, though, is RWBY and, of course, Yang. Yang, I can see being the still hot-headed girl that she is. I could see her really loving the Imperial Guard. I mean, I could see her actually sneaking off with her sister, watching them train. As soon as she gets a taste of what the Imperial Guard are able to do, hell, I could see her basically, when she becomes of age, going straight to them, basically foregoing being a huntress and being like, where do I sign up? RWBY, on the other hand, because of her love of weapons, much like her mother, I don't know if Johnny is going to save her and keep her from being killed by Salem, but what can happen, I could see Summer actually liking the Sisters of Battle. Having a sister within her home and actually talking to them, as well as her and including the Colonel, I could see her liking the Imperial, not only the Imperial Guard because of the weapons, but also the Sisters of Battle because of the fucking armor they're wearing. So she could definitely be, I could see her kind of being like, I'd like to be a part of the Adeptus Sororitas. Which, again, her as a Sister of Battle would actually be kind of cool. Her daughter, RWBY, I could see also liking, again, the weapons, the armor, all that goodness. I could see her be a part of that. But because of course, the red cloak that she wears, at the same time, she could go with the Adeptus Mechanicus. So there are so many routes this could be taken. And of course, Tai Xiaolong is still the stay-at-home dad. There's no real way to dissect it. He's a stay-at-home dad, for fuck's sake. Now, what about all the other characters? Including a fan favorite of Jean Arc. Jean Arc, or even the Arc family, I don't know, Johnny, if you're going to go with the Arcadia, where the Arcs actually have their own nation, you're more than welcome to. That actually is something I don't see a lot of people doing. So, two routes this can go. Jean Arc could still be a part of a family of fucking 7 sisters, and of course, mom and dad. I could see them definitely liking the Imperial Faith. I could see them definitely going towards that. And I could definitely see Jean Arc wanting to do his family proud, and while not being, of course, a hunter, he could be a part of the Guard. I mean, there could be an instance where he impresses a Cadian sergeant or even a Cadian commissar with his bravery in a grim attack, and basically say, we want this lad here in the Guard, and him be recruited. Now, of course, there's the other route where Arcadia is a thing, and literally want to do his family proud, because I could see Arcadia definitely kind of liking the Imperials, or be somewhat independent but allow their children to decide what they want to do. Jean Arc, being a prince of the King Jean and of course Artura, or however the mother's name wants to go by, could essentially tell his mom and dad that he wants to be a guardsman and sign up, maybe along with his twin sister. Again, there are lots of ways this can go down. There are lots of ways this story can evolve. And I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section, ladies and gentlemen, of whether or not, or of what could happen to the characters in the RWBY mainline universe. How could the world of Remnant evolve with this? How things could go. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, I've been Airsoft Al, and thank you for watching. Next time on, of course, Johnny Boy Month, we take a look at his newest story, where Halo comes into the world of 86. And if you'll excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to do a lot of research on 86 and be prepared for that. But till then, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to come talk to me, and of course Johnnyboy11, the author himself, pinned in the comment down below, besides of course the story, is the Discord link to where you can talk with me and Johnnyboy11. And if you want to help support the channel and all the stuff we do, consider donating to our PayPal down below. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Airsoft Al, and I will see you lovely, lovely people in the next video. Till next time. Later!